we can see that, again, this move up has been a fantastic move in Bitcoin. But again, if we look at the bigger picture, it's still a very small move in the overall market, right? So if you look at this high down. And so for me, I look at that and I say, okay, we haven't even taken out this high at 25,000, which was kind of even a little bit above that. If you look at the 2021 level here, right? So if we go to the lows of 2021, basically it crosses right through this area here, right? So this area and then this area. So for me, in the very least, we would need to see Bitcoin. That concerns me. Like if you go to past bear markets in stocks, commodities, even past in crypto, I mean, look at 2018 into 2019 in crypto is when we had a bounce of this magnitude off the lows. We were at like 3,000, 3,500 on Bitcoin. We went to about 6,000, which was 100% gain. And people were still so scared that the lows weren't in. I mean, no one was really shouting that, oh my goodness, here's the new bull market. Here we are. All we've done is go up, basically 35% off the lows versus 100 back in 2007, 18 and 19. And we have such bullish sentiment. And that's a concern because past.
As we move into mid-February, many investors are still wondering what's in for Bitcoin in 2023. A few days ago, Gareth Soloway, founder of InTheMoneyStocks.com and VerifiedInvestingCrypto.com, was calling out the bottom around May or June this year. But the market sentiment may be changing due to the recent pump in Bitcoin. And we can see that in the fear and greed index that was filled with fear last month to now being between neutral and greedy. So with that in mind, in this video, Gareth will make a new Bitcoin price prediction that may help you understand what's happening this year, but mainly the key levels you need to watch out for before you go long to short in Bitcoin. Pay close attention until the end, as some of these levels differ from what people expect. First, let's have a quick look at macro and what could finally separate Bitcoin from other risk assets and let the big players come in, according to Gareth.
By the second half of this year, and maybe even the end of the second quarter of this year, I think what you're going to see is the economy starting to slip into recession, but inflation still above what the Fed feels comfortable at for, basically printing more money. And I think that's going to be the real issue here is that if you have an economy that's slipping into recession and the Fed doesn't come to the rescue because inflation's too high, you're going to see stocks collapse. I mean, you will see 25% more downside on the S&P 500, maybe 35% on the NASDAQ. And then that puts us in a position where, like you said, if risk assets like stocks are collapsing, how does Bitcoin withstand that selling fury? And I think that for me would be one of the cases of why Bitcoin could still go back down. By the end of this year, you could see that. And the thought process would be is that if we get in, and this is kind of like the worst case scenario, but if the economy gets into a recession, but the Fed can't bail us out, we could be in a multi-year recession. And with no bailouts from the Fed printing of money, the question is, well, where does money go? Now, if you get some regulation in the crypto markets where all of a sudden institutional money says, wait a minute, we know that there's transparency, we can trust the books that we're seeing, we know our money's not going to disappear. Now you could have people saying, well, yeah, I was invested in stocks, but we're in a long-term recession. Where would I put my money in the near term? Maybe crypto's the answer there, and maybe Bitcoin sees some money flow even in a recession. So I think that would be my case where you could actually see Bitcoin decouple from risk assets.
What can we expect for 2023? Is Gareth hodling some crypto too, or just going for some swing trades?
I finally, when we were down around 17,000, I finally tucked a little bit of Bitcoin away, just a very small amount where I'm trying not to look at it for the longer term. But aside from that, I hold some physical gold and physical silver, but that's really it. I mean, aside from that, my investments are, I go into them with this kind of game plan. And then when that game plan plays out and I get that 10 or 20% move in, let's say, a couple weeks, I'm just taking that money and then I find another opportunity. And I think that's one of the great things about technical trading is that you can trade stocks, you can trade commodities, you can trade crypto. And so there's so many options that there's always another trade there for you to take if you get out of one. I think for me, this is very reminiscent. We're seeing this big pump up recently, and I think for me, it's looking at it in a holistic approach and saying, okay, to me, this looks very much like during the dot-com collapse when we had these bounces, and it got people very bullish very quickly because we all remember how amazing 2021 was, and it was 2000 and 1999 back then, and so you get this kind of sentiment rush of greatness and like, oh my God, I can make the same amount of money I made in 2021. Problem is, it's usually during the bear market here, it's usually going to be kind of a bear trap or a bull trap. So I think that's for me the issue here, is that it makes me think we still have some downside to go in Bitcoin. But I do think in 2023 we finally bottom out. I think regulation will help with that, and I think finally, people will start to view at least Bitcoin as more of a safety gold, kind of digital gold hedge versus the overall stock market.
Is this a bull trap? What key levels could invalidate his thesis?
We can see that, again, this move up has been a fantastic move in Bitcoin. But again, if we look at the bigger picture, it's still a very small move in the overall market, right? So if you look at this high down. And so for me, I look at that and I say, okay, we haven't even taken out this high at 25,000, which was kind of even a little bit above that. If we look at the 2021 level here, right? So if we go to the lows of 2021, basically it crosses right through this area here, right? So this area and then this area. So for me, in the very least, we would need to see Bitcoin trade above 30 for me to even start to kind of think that maybe the lows are in. And again, it makes a lot of sense, right? If we can establish ourselves back above this level, now you're back above some very pivotal levels in the last couple of years in Bitcoin's history. And you could argue that you're kind of closer to the highs at that point. You're getting closer to that 50% closer to the highs versus the lows on the chart. So I think 30,000 for me would be a pivotal level. There is one more level that I want to show you here, which is it was a key breakdown point. So you just want to watch this as well. You have your pivot lows here connecting perfectly to here, and we can see we broke there. So if we did get above 30, we would want to see what happens at 42. But already at 42, you could still have the lows in. So I think 30,000 for me is really a big pivotal level here. That concerns me. Like if you go to past bear markets in stocks, commodities, even past in crypto, I mean, look at 2018 into 2019 in crypto is when we had a bounce of this magnitude off the lows. We were at like 3,000, 3,500 on Bitcoin. We went to about 6,000, which was 100% gain. And people were still so scared that the lows weren't in. I mean, no one was really shouting that, oh my goodness, here's the new bull market. Here we are. All we've done is go up, basically 35% off the lows versus 100 back in 2007, 18 and 19. And we have such bullish sentiment. And that's a concern because past market bottoms, now this could be different, but past market bottoms, which tells me it's probability, are telling me to not get too excited just yet. Yeah, I would say 20 to 25%. So about 75%, give or take, that it's not in yet, that the lows are not in, just based on the technicals as well as the psychological sentiment. So again, there is a 25% chance it is. I mean, and again, as a technical trader, we have to gauge that and kind of be like, all right, that's the chance. So if you're going to go short crypto, you have to take that factor that you could be wrong 25% of the time into account. So it's the risk factors when you're analyzing probabilities give you the ability to do proper position size, proper risk, right? And that's really, really important for traders and investors.
Are there any more levels we need to pay close attention to if we want to move on to Bitcoin?
What for me, at least with Bitcoin now, so it's consolidated here, right? So if we go in, we've been chopping here. You did get a topping tail right here. Topping tails are bearish reversal signals, and you can see that Bitcoin did fall off of that. For me, if we got a big move up to 30,000 right here, then I would absolutely short Bitcoin at that point. It's such a powerful resistance here in terms of the charts that would be the high probability pullback level. Now, again, would I hold it till 15 or 16,000? Probably not, because again, you don't know at that point if the lows are in. But what I would do is I would leg out. I'd probably, once we're back to, let's say, 25,000 from 30, I would take a quarter off. And then at 20, take a quarter, kind of like inch out, but let a little bit run on the downside. Yeah, so I mean, that would be possibility, right? So for me, it would be one of these things where there's a big level here also if we look at this high area right here, right? So kind of right where we came up to and kissed, we have the high of this consolidation level, and that's kind of where we've stopped up. So what you could do is if you get a good bull flag and it gets above this level, you could play it for a run if it gets above 25. 230. And that would be interesting for me. It's because we've already run up so much. It would be one of those scenarios where I would probably put a very small amount of money in, but you could absolutely do that. Again, it's all about that risk management of how much you're putting into that trade.
And to close in, many people on Twitter are talking about an echo bubble. Is this the one?
I absolutely agree that that is what happens. And you do see it. It's like a reverberation, right? So you get in these, you have these amazing bull markets. And I kind of touched on it earlier where you have this scenario where you had such an amazing market move in 2021 and everyone remembers it, right? It was like the good old days. And so we want to naturally, it's human psychology to go back and remember how much money we made. Remember when I made 5x or 100x on Dogecoin. And so you, just as human nature is, we want to believe it's going to happen again. And so you get these periods where you have these relief rallies, short covering rallies, and then it excites people and they start to believe again, right? And I think that's exactly what we're in right now. And it does happen. Every bull market, if you look at the declines after a bull market, you'll have these pockets of these bull bounces along the way. And again, we call it bull traps or something like that. But yeah, it absolutely happens.
Did you take value out of this curated interview? Want to see more? Let us know in the comments below what other experts you would love us to bring to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow for more daily crypto.